Hey guys, it's Francine Simone and the little one, and today we are here with I'm a Guilty Reader tag. So I was tagged by Katrina from Little Book Owl. If you don't know Katrina, then I don't know where you've been. She's awesome and amazing, and she's one of the people who actually pushed me over the cliff to read Nevernight, which, oh my god, I'm so thankful for. Book review coming soon. But this book tag was originally created by my girl Chammy over at Read Like Wildfire. If you don't know Chammy, then I don't know how you are living right now. That girl gives me life. I love Chammy, so check out her video too. I will link both of them down below. Come on, UPS, I'm filming. But I'm going to go ahead and get to the questions. So, number one, have you ever regifted a book that you've been given? Oh my god, I do this all the time. And you know what? My bookshelf is so packed right now. And now I'm super glad of that because I'm on camera all the time. But it's really hard for you to tell what books are on my shelf because sometimes I have books behind books. Mainly because I need another shelf. But I've been really super lazy about buying a new shelf. So it's really hard to tell what books I have and what books I don't have. So I've regifted quite a few books that I've been given. And you know what? I don't even feel guilty about that. Actually, I do. I feel really guilty about it, which is why I don't tell anybody. But yeah, I do that all the time. Have you ever said you've read a book when you haven't? Yes, every day at school. Besides that, in actual personal life, outside of school, I have done that. And it's usually because it's on accident. I've told people, oh yeah, I read that book. And then I realized, no, I didn't. I've only heard of that book a lot. And then I realized oh, actually I haven't read that book. But then by then I'm too embarrassed to be oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read that. Especially after they tell you a synopsis and they start getting all hype about it. And they're like, what do you think about this part? And I'm sitting here ooh, it was good. Awkward. So, yes, I have. And yes, it's embarrassing. And no, I don't correct myself or tell the truth ever. I just go with the flow and then try to get the fuck out of that situation. Have you ever borrowed a book and not returned it? So you all know that I have real bad habits at the library. Literally just recently, I was reading a borrowed ebook from the library and I was supposed to have returned it 3 or 4 days ago. So literally I went on my iPad and I was oh shit, that's right, this book is getting returned. And then I realized it was on airplane mode from when I flew into Orlando. I never took it off. And the book was still there. It didn't go anywhere. And I was So yeah, I just returned it yesterday though because I'm not trying to hold these books hostage. I don't know how that works, and then I'd feel real bad for screwing the library over. But I've never actually kept one for ever. I have always eventually returned them because I just start feeling real bad. You look at it and then you don't want to even look at your bookshelf because it's right there, and then you have to hide it, and then you feel super bad about hiding it because it makes you feel even worse. I'm too neurotic to keep it. Have you ever read a series out of order? Yes. And you know what? I don't even feel guilty about this. I'm actually mad about this. That time in publishing, which is kind of still today, where on the spine of the book, they'll tell you that it's in the series, but they don't tell you what number it is in the series. And you know how sometimes when you open the book, and in the book, it'll tell you what book it was before, but it didn't list all of them? There's the Dark Ages. And I used to get mad, super mad when I'm reading a book. I'd be so confused. I'd finally get into it, and then I'd enjoy it good enough. And then come to find out, I read book 2 or book 3. And it didn't list the other books in the series, or they're all out of order, or they're in alphabetical order. And I'm who is in charge of this? So I don't feel guilty about that. I feel actually real mad. It's a real bone to pick. I cannot stand that. Have you ever spoiled a book for someone? Yes. So, actually, this is a huge thing. I was just in Orlando with my family, and apparently we're all really bad at this. We were watching Game of Thrones, right? And so, my uncle, he's, telling my granddad, every little detail and every little spoiler, or we're all trying to, get my granddad and my sister into it. They're sitting there watching the episode 1 for the first time, and he's oh, yeah, who is that? Is that the person who, dies, 3 seasons in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And then we're just dude, seriously? Or he'd be oh yeah, I have a question about this. In season 7 how X, Y, and Z happen? like, and this, and we're just like, spoiler alert, and he, like, would not stop spoiling the entire show. So we're on season 1, like, 10 minutes into the episode. So, like, why is he explaining all of this, like, that happens over the course of, like, 2 or 3 seasons? Like, come on, get it together, man, get it together. But yeah, I've spoiled books for people because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I've spoiled Harry Potter, I've spoiled the Pendragon series, I've spoiled Warrior Cats. I've spoiled, like, just about everything there is to spoil. In fact, like, the only reason why I'm not so bad at it anymore is because my husband gets really mad when you spoil stuff. So, like, I've learned to reel it in. I spoil everything. Have you ever doggy-eared a book? Yes, I used to doggy-ear my books, like, all the time until I started collecting books, and then I, was like, I'll never doggy-ear ever again. Have you ever told someone that you don't own a book when you do? Oh, hell to the yes. When people want to borrow your books, they'd be like, oh, you read that? Do you have it? And I'm like, oh, no, I borrowed it from the library. And they should be on your shelf while you're saying that, like, dead to their face. Like, no, I tell people that all the time. Don't ask to borrow my books, so I'm not going to let you borrow my book. Like, no, because people who borrow books don't give them back in the same condition that they were borrowed in the first place, or they don't give them back at all, which is a whole nother story, which is a soft spot, which is why I will never read another Terry Goodkind book ever again in my life. I'm sorry, Terry. It's not your fault. It's some shady-ass person who doesn't like to return books, and it was a nice copy, and I'm really still upset about that. Have you ever told someone you haven't read a book when you have? You know, like when everybody says, oh, so you write YA, right? Oh, so like Twilight? I tell people, I've never read Twilight. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's just so that they stop talking to me about young adult, because clearly they're not someone who, like, frequents young adult, since they're still referencing a book from, like, 2007, and it's been 10 years. So, I mean, besides the fact that those are usually, no offense to my dudes out there, but they're usually guys, and they usually like to mansplain to me what YA is, or, like, the classic YA books, and I'm sitting here like, dude, not only do I have a YouTube channel in which I talk about young adult books, but I've written 2 young adult books, and I read young adult books. I don't need you to mansplain to me what classics there are, or what I should read in young adult, and what constitutes a young adult book. But thank you. Thank you. You who doesn't even know what the fuck you're doing with your life. Thank you. Have you ever skipped a chapter in a section of a book? No, I have not done that. I am way too, like, I can't. If I don't like the book, I will DNF it. I will skim through it just to get through it, to get to the end. That's what I used to do. Now I just toss the book aside and I'm like, I'm done. Because, the older you get, the less time you have. That's morbid. But, like, when I was younger, I never skipped stuff. Like, I used to force myself to read the entire book, even if I did not like it. And then it progressed to, like, I would, like, try to skim through a section, especially if it's point of view changes that I don't like, or point of view shifts that retell the same events. I would kind of skim through it if I didn't like that person. But I've never skipped a section or chapter. Even through rereads, I can't do it. Have you ever badmouthed a book you actually liked? Yes, actually I have. Now I wouldn't, but like when you're just younger, you just don't have the same confidence that you do when you're older and you're like, you dudes, fuck you. So like I used to badmouth Twilight when I really liked Twilight. So there was that. There was Warrior Cats, because it's really hard to tell someone when you're a 16-year-old and you're like obsessed about a book about cats who are warriors and have like relationships and you're shipping them and shit. It's really hard to explain that to other people when you're like 18 and they're looking at you and you're in a lit class, you've just read The Great Gatsby, and you're like, you know what else is really good? You're like, it's about warrior cats. And you're like, oh, I'm just, I have to read this for my children's lit class. Like, hell lame, right? Oh. Yeah, guys, I didn't always have the same confidence that I do now to talk about what I read, to talk about young adult. So, like when people like to make fun of young adult or say like, why would you read young adult if you want to read like profound books? Or you must not really know a lot of books to read if you're reading that. Or, oh, you like popular stuff, huh? Or, my favorite when people think that, you haven't grown up because you used to like to read young adult books. And it's like, fuck you, I have 2 kids. My vagina's grown a lot faster than you have. That's really weird. I'm sorry I said that. I'm not editing it out, though. But now when people start to say shit like that to me, I'm just like, whoa, chill pill. Before you come at me about something, I'm going to need you to be well-read about it. You want to sit here and talk to me about how unwell-read I am about adult books, yet I can talk to you about the adult books you read. You can't talk to me about the young adult books I read. So who's more well-read? You or me, brah? You or me? So, yes. I used to sometimes badmouth books that I really liked. Do I feel bad about it? Yes. I really wish I had more confidence. But the more I think about it, the more proud I am now that I am proud of my section. I'm proud of my people. I'm proud of the books that we read, the books that we create. I am proud of YA. Said, that is the I am guilty reader tag. So I tag you, my friend. And you can always catch me on Twitter or Instagram with Francina Simone. That's my name everywhere. And until later days, guys, TTYL, ta for now. Bye. Bye.